Alrighty guys, so today we are going to talk about thrips and more exactly how do they look on orchids, how does thrips damage looks on orchids, and how to get rid of them. So let's get started. Here I have a gorgeous Vanda orchid which was supposed to have two beautiful and strong spikes. This is a big Vanda, as you can see. She is very strong, she is very happy in the setup she is growing in, and even she is growing two cakeys, one on this side and one on this side. There we go. So about 2.5 months ago she started to grow these two spikes, but what I didn't know at that moment it is that my orchid came infested with thrips, and they did some damage, and I will start with this one. So thrips are going to scratch the freshest tissues that are growing on your orchid, that meaning new leaves, new roots, and more what they like most, it is new spikes and buds. And they did some damage. We can see I have some discoloration. We can see how they did some damage on the newest leaves, but they affected the most the new spikes. So as the buds were still forming, they started to scratch them. The little bites got infected, and this is another thrip damage issue. The buds will start to blast, and I have here quite a few of them. I will actually remove them. So they pretty much ruined my flower spikes. The blooms are going to fade faster than they should. You are going to see damage on the blooms, as I have here. We can see a black patch in here. Here as well. On cattleyas usually you are going to see some whitish damage on the blooms and more. So they pretty much ruined my display. This is pretty sad, but what can we do? This orchid is gorgeous, and she was able to produce up to 14 buds per spike, so I was going to have about 28 blooms if I would have cared for the orchid properly. Unfortunately, I was super busy and I did not caught the infestation in time. Now my orchid is free of those bugs, but the damage is already done, and I am actually going to show to you. Here on my Cattleya dowiana I have some thrip damage as well. We can see as the bud was forming, they started to eat on it, to bite, and they did that damage, which unfortunately is visible on the front side of the bloom as well, which is really unfortunate because this orchid is really famous. Now I have treated all my orchid collection and they are all free of pests. Now what I have done, it is to do 5 sprayings with pesticides that are systemic, but I have used different chemicals. So I have sprayed my orchids once every 3 to 5 days. The first 2 times once every 3 days, and then once every 5 days with a different substance. And I actually have a list of chemicals which are supposed to be effective on thrips, so I am going to show to you. You should try to find them on Amazon or on local shops, I'm not sure, where you are able to purchase them. Here I have an article about thrips which I have read prior to starting my treatment. Now, thrips are very small insects. They have about 1 to 3 millimeters in size, so they are almost invisible to the naked eye. They have more stages. They have 3 stages of growth. At first they are crawlers, very small, and at this stage they are rather yellowish in color, and you are going to see them crawling on your buds, blooms or spikes. Very hard to notice them unless you are going to watch with a flashlight. Then they are going to transform into little bugs that are about 1 to 3 millimeters in size, which are black, and they are quite pointy at both ends. This will be the stage where they do the most damage. They are going to eat onto your orchid, and then they are going to develop wings, so they will be able to fly from an orchid to another. And this was the main orchid which was infested with thrips, where I have the eggs, the crawlers, and the flies, and they pretty much spread throughout almost all my orchid collection. So I did I did a treatment on all my orchids. Now in my country, in Romania, insecticides are very easy to find, and you should make sure you wear protective gloves and a mask, some glasses if you have. Let the windows open on, or even better, spray them while they are outside. That is what pretty much I have done. I put the orchids outdoors, and I did the treatment, let them dry out, and then I brought them back inside. Now it is a bit harder if you don't have a space outside, but you can totally do it inside. Make sure you don't have any pets inside, because the chemicals are really poisonous while they are still wet, or the vapors are there. Once they dry, I understand they are not all that dangerous anymore. At least my cat does not really like to go in between my orchids, so I know she's safe. Now, thrips are among the ugliest insects that you can have on your orchids, because they are a little bit harder to kill. They can develop resistance to some substances, so you should make sure you change them in between, like I did. And they do a lot of damage because they are so small and they are rather shy. So whenever they will feel movement around, they will go ahead and hide at the back of the orchid or inside the throat. Another very effective way to go and see if you have thrips or not, it is to gently put a white paper underneath your bloom and then shake it very well and see if you have any crawlers on your paper. As I said, yellowish in color when they are crawlers, blackish when they are adult. Now, I did say in the past you should always separate your orchids, the new orchids that you receive, but sometimes when we have so many of them, it is a bit harder and we sometimes fail. That is normal, it is happening to everyone. Don't feel bad about it. Just make sure once you see on a pest infestation, treat all your orchids, because otherwise they are going to return back again and again. And this is pretty much why I do not have mites on my orchids, because once I see one orchid, I spray them all, and that pretty much kills them. They don't come back until I am not vigilant again, and I introduce again an orchid with some pests. So I think, guys, this is pretty much my video for today. So I'm going to put some more pictures with thrips damage, and yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and see you all next time. Bye.